Sorry, is mine?
Yeah.
Oh no, I was just asking if my microphone's kind of fixing me.
Oh, I can hear you clearly though. So.
Okay.
Cool. Good day. Today we're gonna be discussing Node.js, the first unit. Um, and yeah, let's jump into it. I'm here with my navigator, Aiden.
Hello.
I think I'm just gonna jump into what Node.js is. So like, okay, right? From my understanding, right? Like, I would say it's a framework, some type of framework that like allows you to run JavaScript, right? Um, on the server side. So in another way, it's like a server side language. Do you agree with that, bro? Like,
I'd say that's actually a much more, a much simpler way of explaining what I did earlier.
yeah, like I try to find the most simple way because like um, it was going over my head at first, but like specifically working with servers, let me say. That's how I see it.
Well, I think, server side is the back end, client side is the front end. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
Discord's the server between us and the other clients.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
that does make sense. I see now. So that's how I understand Node.js. Oh yeah, this I just want to go through this graph to try and understand it better. So, right, from my understanding here, right, we have like basically it's like an event loop. So the process to building an application with Node.js, right? So like we'll have like the first phase here, which is like where you set up the it's like prepping your application that you want to build, right? So like doing things like importing modules and setting routes and all that stuff, right? And then
that's pretty much exactly what it is.
Yeah. Then in this part of the loop, in this second part, this is where like the specific tasks are mainly like queued up, right? So like you have like tasks like let's say like reading files or like loading files, or I'd even say like get requests and all that stuff. So that's where this is where like the tasks are being queued up, from my understanding.
Something you can say to sound fancy is it's a first in, first out, or FOF.
Yeah.
Queue. So the first task that gets queued is the first task that gets completed.
Yeah. So you have like the first task, like task one, and then it gets completed, and then the next task follows through.
Yeah.
Okay, I see. So then we'll have like your callback. So like basically a callback function. So it, from my understanding, like it declares that a specific task is completed, right? So like let's say a file is loaded, then what happens, it will return a string saying file is loaded. That's with callbacks. Then here in this part of the loop, I would say, oh, this is basically where like the urgent tasks are basically dealt with immediately, right? Because here it says near the end of the loop, operations specified to run immediately. So that's where they handle in this part of the loop. And then this is
just what that would be. Sorry.
Yeah, no.
Just what that would be is, say, like you're loading a new page, and there's a bunch of things that need to happen. The first thing that happens is the CSS gets loaded, and then the HTML gets loaded, and then it does all the GET requests and stuff and blah blah for the actual user.
Okay, so the most important ones have to basically be handled first. Then everything else follows through. Yeah. And then like the timers, right? Like, so I would say this is where like you set the time for like a task to be completed, right? Like, so maybe in your code you'll say like every 2 seconds a task should be completed.
It's more so.
Yeah.
So it's a couple of things. So there is you can't really say set a timer, but there is a minimum and maximum. So like, let's say you click on a hyperlink and that takes you to a new page.
Yeah.
It has, let's say it'll have a minimum load time of 10 milliseconds, because like sometimes people get, so like it'll have a minimum load time of 10 milliseconds, but then it has a maximum load time of 2 minutes, at which point other things happen. So like, let's say, hey, it's taken 2 minutes to load the CSS, this isn't working, just load the HTML page.
So within that time span, all of that happens.
Yeah, so like it's basically setting a minimum and maximum amount of time for certain tasks to happen. This is just like insurance. It probably goes in a bit more in depth. We'll probably learn about it later, but I think it will be like the minimum and the maximum. So have you ever had have you ever clicked on like a thing before where it's you go in and you're used to it being like this beautiful, pretty website, but it's suddenly just the HTML hyperlinks?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever had that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That is the timeout for the CSS kicking in and only loading the HTML.
Oh. Okay, yeah. When I see it that way, I understand the thing better.
Yeah. Does that make more sense?
It does. So in your code, did you say?
It's like a...
Yeah.
I think, sorry, another way you can explain it is you have a time limit on a test, and like we always do, and when you write that test, you set time limits for each question based on the marks that you based on the marks, so like 1 minute per mark kind of thing. And if you don't get, like if you don't complete the specific thing within that time limit, you skip it and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Like, does that sort of make sense?
Okay, I see. So would you? I don't want to go too deep into it, but let me just say, right? So like, what's this function? Set time out, right? The function
set time out is,
that's what you use.
That's exactly what I just. That's what I explained. Time out.
Okay, I see.
Time interval or time out will get evaluated at this phase. So the minimum or the maximum amount of time it's taking. So it basically it'll say this will take minimum 10 milliseconds, or this can only take 10 milliseconds, kind of thing.
Okay, I see. Right, cool.
And you probably do get, so like I'm trying to think of a, like the first one, the time interval is just an estimate of how long it'll take before the other processes will start happening. So like okay, after 10 milliseconds this other thing will happen regardless of whether the other one is done. And then the timeout will be like, okay, this hasn't been completed in the allotted time frame. We're going to move on or we're going to stop and wait for it to be done, or say, hey, timeout. Like, you know, when you get a timeout thing on a video game when your connection's bad for some reason.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
So in this case over here, right? Let's say with Node.js, does it wait for a specific task to be completed first, or it just goes on to the next task, right?
Either or, depending on whether it's a time interval or timeout.
Oh, so they set
So
time
timeout
interval.
will be its waiting. Sorry.
Yeah.
So a timeout will be it's waiting for it to be done
Yeah.
before it moves on to the next thing, and a time interval is okay. Regardless of whether this is done or not, we're going on to the next task.
Oh yeah, that's set time interval. I get it now. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I see the differences between the two. Yeah.
Hmm.
Alright.
It's so nuanced. It's kind of crazy. It seems like they could be the same, but the logic, like once you get into it and think like programmer logic, you understand why it's done like that.
Yeah, I see now. Okay, let me jump into what's this REPR. Wait, before I do that, dude, I just need to. So okay, so from my understanding, threads, right? I want to quickly talk about threads. So, like, this event loop can be seen as a thread in a way. From what I see,
essentially,
because
yeah.
Because the thread, when I'm looking at the definition of a thread, it basically manages tasks. So this event loop is managing like all the tasks, right? So Node works with one thread, correct, nah? Or do you think it works with? Does it work with?
Yeah. So you can set it essentially one application in Node is working on one thread. Does that make sense? So, like, all the tasks in one application are happening in one thread, which is, in some cases, more efficient, in other cases not. So, like, let me explain it with your whole computer. You've got Discord, so this isn't like what's actually happening, but I'm using it, like, as an example to compare it to Node. So Discord is running on your laptop right now.
Yeah.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
That's using one thread. Everything that's happening on Discord, the checks for new messages, the communication we're having right now, the video, like the video and the sharing screen and voice and blah 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 messages and all that stuff is happening on just in one thread. And that's the loop you're seeing now. And then you've also got, let's say, Windows in the background running your whole laptop.
Yeah.
That's another thread. That's checking the time, everything for Windows is happening on another thread. And you might have also got, like, I see you've got Adobe open. That's not Adobe, that's Edge.
Oh yeah, it's Edge, yeah.
Yeah, so you've got Edge open, and that's on another thread. That's why, like, when people say, oh, I've got 16 threads on the CPU, it means that they can have 16 simultaneous, like, thought processes for their CPU happening all at once, if that makes sense. 16 simultaneous. Obviously, it's a bit more advanced than that, because I'm sure you've had more than 16 apps open at any given time. But yeah, that's essentially at the very, very high level, like very basic level, what's happening.
Yeah, yeah. Makes more sense.
If you don't get it, and I just over-explain, tell me.
No, it makes more sense because from what I understand is one thread manages multiple tasks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's and for Node.js.
And you were saying one application needs one thread, basically.
Yeah. So all the tasks that are being managed by the thread for, let's say, Discord are happening in one thread. Which I can tell you in real life is not what's happening, because that's why Discord chows your RAM and CPU.
I see.
Okay. Because Discord's an incredibly inefficient app. Anyway.
Alright, yeah.
Sorry.
Alright. No. That explains a lot, man. Okay, let me move on. I was gonna go into processes, but like it's gonna take long. But let me.
Well, we just explained essentially what was going on there.
Yeah, that's basically what you explained. So yeah.
I'd say read it more in depth so you get a better understanding, because like all these things, these are actually very valuable information for like later on in your career when you might be dealing with much more complex applications.
Facts, man.
When you have to like designate, okay, this process is being handled by this thread at this time, because that's what like high-level software is dealing with.
I see.
Like when you're if you want to get into Google or Netflix.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff they do.
That's where you need to understand it in depth. Yeah, I see.
Well, for now, not really, but I'm just saying, like.
I think for now, I'm just trying to understand the basics of it, because I don't want to just jump into code and not know what a thread is, So yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's a good thing that they're teaching it to us now, because yeah. But anyway,
let me quickly jump in. Jump into the whole REPL. So with REPL, like I was saying, I'll say
you're already in one.
Sorry?
You're already in one, I think.
Yeah, I went in this one here, the one we did earlier.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Okay. So like I was saying, from my understanding, it's like sort of a virtual environment, right? And it lets you run JavaScript code within the terminal over here, right? So
yeah, in the same way you'd run it in a console on Google.
Yeah, same way. And basically run this command first node, then you can say it gets activated when you run this, right?
The virtual environment, the record, yeah.
Yeah. And then you can run your JavaScript code, like here I have my operators. Create a variable here, and using console.log to basically log the value within that variable. Even created a class. My class looks weird because it was on one line.
Sorry, another way you can think of it, like what it's actually doing, is it's now activating that what are they called? Update loops.
Sorry, wait, it's activating what?
The update loop. So the loop we were just discussing earlier.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's essentially what node, when you type node, that's what it's doing. Is it's now running all the code using those checks, if that makes sense.
So the event loop we were discussing earlier, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what. So like the first step is activated, and now it's doing it probably quite a few times a second, or whenever you activate new stuff. But yeah, like if you have the event loop activated, Node will allow that essentially.
Okay. I see.
Sorry, I probably confused you there. But,
so like what you're saying is as soon as like let's say as soon as I put node here, right? Are you saying the first step in the event loop is basically done? Because now it's it's setting up, how do I say, like setting up the application.
More so, it allows, I'd say more so it allows you to start the first step. So when you type in your like 3 plus 3 there,
Yeah.
that would be the start of the loop. And then when it gives you out 6, that would be the end of the loop.
Oh,
that makes sense.
okay. I see. So like, if you're just taking this into consideration alone, right? This would basically be your first step of setting up.
Yeah, and then all the other stuff would happen. Like if you specify the time and you specify
in between
like,
all of
all
this.
the other stuff, yeah, that's what would happen essentially. But I think let's move on because we've already been doing this for half an hour between the two of us.
Yeah, and
We don't want to make it too long.
Yeah. So I just
yeah,
I just try to understand things and then it ends up going further. But like we'll discuss it afterwards. Then yeah. But that's the REPR, right? Then okay, here basically here, right, created this JS messages and it has this basically this array, right? So in order to load the messages, right, within the REPR I can say dot load messages, basically here dot load messages dot JS, and well here it basically loads the whole file, right, and then it also basically displays the strings within the array over here. That's because of dot load messages.js, right? Then like another
so
way.
just go down a bit, just before we move on, just go down a bit. Go down a bit more. Or is it the end?
Yeah, this is the end.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Sorry, I just wanted to check something.
Yeah. Alright, cool. But then another way, right, is just basically running node messages.js. This will basically display these 3 strings within this array over here, and then it shows in the terminal. I would say
so using the for each.
Yeah, I was about to jump into that, like the for each, right? So the for each is taking each of these, and because we logging message, right, then it logs all of these strings over here, from my understanding.
Yeah, so it's you remember how the for loop works in Python?
Yeah.
That's what that's doing. So for each message in the messages like variable, it is printing that message. So it's creating a temporary variable in the form of message, which is storing each like when the loop finishes, like each iteration of the loop is storing one of the values in the array messages.
So it's just another it's just another for loop in a way, right?
Yeah, because remember that JavaScript for loops aren't the same as Python for loops.
Yeah.
That's why they have to make this specific thing.
Okay, I see. I get you. And then yeah, I think we covered it, man. I think we covered it. Yeah. Alright, cool. I'll end it there.
Yeah, I think that's good.